Welcome everyone to our AIM for College webinar. This is Cindy George, and I'd like to welcome Veronica Lewis and Mackenzie Love as our guest speakers today for the Low Vision presentation. I welcome you, and if you have any questions, I'd like for you to put it into the chat, which is to the right of your computer screen. And at the very top of your computer screen, if you move your mouse up there, you'll see some the ways that you can open up your chat screen if you need to. So other than that, I believe I'm going to let them begin and turn on their screen. And I think that this is Veronica that you see now.
Yeah, hi.
And then Mackenzie should be on soon.
We're there. Great.
There you go.
Awesome. So let's get started. So welcome to our presentation for AIM for College with Low Vision. AIM for College is a new webinar series that encourages students with print disabilities to prepare for transition to higher education. This webinar is broadcast live from the campus of George Mason University in Fairfax, Virginia. And now we're having some technical difficulties. Here we go. So we're going to start with the introduction to the two of us. So me and Mackenzie have been awesome friends for the last few months, and this is a photo that we took outside of a classroom building a couple of weeks ago. Notice how the image looks here. Now to the next slide. Right. Mackenzie, you want to give yourself your introduction?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Mackenzie Love. I am a current junior communications major in media production at George Mason. And I was born with congenital cataracts. And at the age of 4, I was diagnosed with aphakic glaucoma. So that all those terms pretty much mean that I have blurry vision and I have 0 depth perception, 0 peripheral vision, and that's what is indicated in the picture in front of you.
All right, and I am Veronica Lewis. I am a senior at George Mason University studying data science and assistive technology. I am a 2015 graduate of Virginia Public Schools, and I'm also the writer and blogger behind the website Veronica Before Eyes, which is a vision impairment and assistive technology blog. I'll be sharing links throughout the presentation from my blog, which will be able to be accessed in a SWAY document, which I will link to at the end of the presentation. I have an eye condition called accommodative esotropia, which means my eyes turn inwards. I was diagnosed with that at age 3 and identified with low vision. And then normally the condition goes away at age 9, but for me it got rapidly worse. And I was also diagnosed at age 14 with Chiari malformation, a brain condition that causes my brain to be smashed into the bottom of my skull. So this is a good representation of how I see on a normal day. My vision does fluctuate a lot though because I do have dual eye and brain conditions. So I see double and blurry, and I also have very limited peripheral vision and no depth perception. I use a blindness cane to navigate around campus. All right, so now that our introductions are out of the way, we're going to start with the main part of this webinar. We've sort of structured it like a conversation, so hopefully you guys will be able to get a lot of information out of it. We ask that you please save all questions to the end if possible, though. All right, so we're going to start with our origin stories and what questions we asked when we were choosing a college. So for me, I was asking a lot of questions about the Disability Services Office. One of the things that was most important to me was that I made sure that the office would be proactive rather than reactive. I wanted to make sure that I would be able to go to my professors at the beginning of the semester and explain my disability and make sure I got accommodations to start with instead of going to Disability Services Office after there was already a problem. Another thing I asked about was the availability of assistive technology and how widely accepted it was in the classroom. One of the colleges I toured asked me, "What is assistive technology?" followed up by, "Why would we let you have that?" So then I knew that I probably shouldn't go there.
Yeah, a lot of the questions that I asked when touring or choosing a college were about campus layout, security, of course, and just accommodations that I can receive through disability services, and how the professors may react to me asking for accommodations. A lot of the time I know that's very different compared to other professors, but it's still a question I was worried about.
Yeah, I think another thing that was awesome about George Mason is they let us set up our disability services file in advance. So I was accepted to the university with the early decision, and I was able to start setting up my disability services file in April while I was actually still in high school. I brought in documentation from my ophthalmologist and neurologist because my condition was, again, both eye and brain. I also brought in a copy of my IEP and my file from the Department of the Blind and Visually Impaired.
I set up mine pretty similarly. I went to our spring preview, which is pretty much a more detailed tour for incoming students, and I went to Disability Services office and asked, can I set my stuff up now? Can I set up my file now? And I brought in just notes from my ophthalmologist. I brought in information on what I got from my IEP in high school, and it was already set up, and it was no stress when I started to choose classes, and when I went through orientation, it was already set up and done, and I didn't have to worry about it.
Yeah, going to events like Spring Preview is really helpful when you're working on choosing a college because it allows you to really get a feel for the campus. One of the things that helped me the most before coming to college when I was preparing to receive my accommodations was converting my IEP to a 504 plan, which was advice that my mom had received from one of her friends. We did that because we thought it would help me with figuring out what accommodations I really would need in college and in the workforce and beyond. And I was also able to take my 504 plan with me to internships. Did you do anything else to prepare before coming to college?
The only other thing I did was take mobility lessons so I could learn how to navigate around campus and how to navigate in the city or using shuttle services. I didn't really do much else academically other than just graduate high school. So.
Hey, that's still a huge accomplishment.
So
once you graduate high school, though, you get to go into the college classroom for the first time. So I remember my first major at Mason was actually applied computer science. And one of the things I noticed once I got into the program was that I was going to have to spend a lot of time learning to use assistive technology before I would start learning classroom materials, because I didn't receive a lot of assistive technology training when I was in high school. So I ultimately ended up switching my major to data science, where luckily there are accessible materials galore. A lot of the softwares we work with are screen reader and screen magnification accessible, and I feel like having the availability of accessible materials really helped me with my decision to major in data science.
Yeah. When it came to my major, a lot of my major is writing intensive. So thankfully, I don't have to go through all of those math classes. I just have to be able to have the availability of reading a lot so I can then write 7 to 10 page papers. So the only worry I really had when choosing a major was after college, because you're only in college for a certain number of years, but whatever you major in college is going to ultimately kind of decide what you're going to do. So I wanted to make sure that whatever I majored in, I was going to be able to do throughout my life, even if I did lose more vision. So
that's really good to think about changing vision over time. I feel like that also helped me when I was picking out my classroom accommodations. I purposely wrote my disability services file in a vague way, so that way I would be able to adjust technology or accommodations as I needed it. So my classroom accommodations include preferential seating, large print, I think size 36 is listed in my disability services file, but usually I just tell the professor what I need. I receive digital materials, and I also have the option to attend class remotely, which I did when massive wind gusts had come through campus, and my blindness cane flew up and hit me in the face.
My classroom accommodations are somewhat similar. I have preferential seating, extended times for quizzes and tests, and I also receive PowerPoint lectures if the professor uses them. So I can just pull them up on my computer and zoom in and not have to worry about the professor going too fast and me missing something, I can just go back and look at it, which is a lot easier than having to strain my eyes to be able to see the screen.
So do you receive a lot of your assignments digitally then? Because for me, I get stuff in order of preferential for accessible materials. I get digital assignments first, usually that I can open in Microsoft Office. Then I'll request large print, and then I'll also request audio formats when needed. So, for example, back in April 2018, I went temporarily blind for an entire month as the result of a freak pollen allergy, and I found myself asking for a combination of digital and audio-based materials because due to my brain condition, I can't read Braille.
Mm-hmm. I mainly ask for digital materials because it is a less eye strain and I don't have to worry about lighting. So if it is available as a digital format, I will ask for it as a digital format. And if it's not available as a digital format, I will just ask for it in large print. And I am completely fluent in Braille code, so if I really needed to take that step, I could.
That's super awesome. So what assistive technology and apps do you usually use in the classroom?
I use a lot of my accessibility apps are on my Mac because I use Dark Invert to switch the contrast so it's not as blinding on my eyes. And then I use just the zoom feature, the normal zoom feature, and I will also use my phone's camera for if the professor writes on the whiteboard. So that's just so I can zoom in, never delete the picture later, and wonder why I have it.
You probably have a camera roll filled with lots of exciting information. A lot of the assistive technology I use doesn't necessarily involve image storage. I use apps like Seeing AI, Envision AI, and Google Assistant to take pictures of what's on the screen, and those apps will actually extract the text or images that I need. I also use Office Lens for the same reason. These are all free apps I just mentioned, by the way. I also use my Microsoft Surface Pro 3 in the classroom for Microsoft applications because a lot of my classes are very technology heavy. And I also use my iPad with the app Notability, which allows me to annotate PDFs. That app is $2. And I've also used, weirdly enough, in the last couple days, I've been using the Amazon Alexa app with the built-in Alexa functionality because it allows me to be able to use it as a talking calculator and make sure that I'm copying down numbers correctly. So that's been surprisingly really helpful. I also bring my phone with me to class and will take pictures of the board or scans if needed, and I also use my phone as a portable scanner. So it's been really cool. I guess another thing that's worth noting is I talk to my professors ahead of time about how I use assistive technology, and I'm always very open to show them, hey, here's exactly how I'm using this. So that's really helped me with making sure my professors understand my accommodations.
Yeah, I love to go to my professors before the classes start or on the very first day of class so they kind of understand what I may need, what may be different from another visual student with a visual impairment they had in the past. And it's just a lot easier. I will either email them all of my information ahead of time, especially that's what I did when I started taking sign language because there was a lot to explain. And then if I don't do that, I always come with my faculty contact sheet from Disability Services and kind of explain like, hey, this is what I may need. This is what I will keep in touch with you in the future about because I'm not 100% sure yet. And I also utilize office hours as well, so they don't have to deal with time constraints or anything like that. It's just one-on-one, like, that's it.
I send my professors emails in advance too. And then it's funny on the first day of class because I'll usually try to find them after class or they'll come find me because they're like, hey, you knocked over a trash can on your way in here and ran into the wall. You're probably my vision impaired student. But I mean, a lot of college, you're not just sitting in the classroom all the time. Unfortunately, you're also doing homework and reading from textbooks. Luckily, I didn't have to worry a lot about receiving accessible textbooks in college because while I was in high school, I received textbooks from AIM here in large print and digital formats. And now that I'm in college, I use a lot of Kindle textbooks with the Amazon Kindle app, Or I go to the Assistive Technology Initiative at my university, and they can scan in textbooks, like actual copies of textbooks, and make them into accessible formats as needed.
Yeah, I get all of my textbooks from our campus bookstore, and they all get sent to me. And depending on the publisher, it is on a different website, so I just have to make a bookmark about where that textbook is. It's just a lot easier to do it that way, and I just recently started utilizing the Assistive Technology Initiative here, which I think is going to be super helpful with a textbook that has no digital format whatsoever.
So a lot of the books you get from the campus bookstore, they're digital then?
Yeah, if I have the option to have a digital book, they will give me a digital book, which is very helpful. I'll always ask when I go downstairs, I need these textbooks, and if there's a digital format for them, I would like that format. They're very helpful.
Yeah, having access to accessible textbooks has helped me a lot. So one of the cool things I use when it comes to assistive technology and apps to help with homework is my Amazon Echo Dot will actually read me my textbooks out loud. So I'm able to listen to my textbook while I take notes. Or I also can open up my textbooks from PDF using the app Immersive Reader, which is a free extension of the Microsoft Edge browser and several Microsoft Office apps. So I'm able to read text a couple lines at a time using Smart Invert or other text settings, and it can also read things to me out loud if I need it.
Yeah.
Also, when I'm working on my homework, I'll use a lot of different, well, it really depends the class I'm working in. So for data science, you're working with a lot of different programs such as Python, NetLogo, and things like that. So I will use screen magnification and text-to-speech software as needed to ensure that I'm understanding everything. Another cool thing is one of my professors is testing out 3D printed models for one of my classes and helping for me to understand different gradients in images. So no word on how that's gone yet because I've only had it a couple times, but it seems like it'd be a really cool way to work on homework.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of my homework accommodations or accessibility features that I use are pretty similar to my in-classroom accessibility features. I still use Dark Invert. I still use Zoom. It's just I take it slower now because I'm not on a time constraint. I also use my Amazon Alexa for, especially since, like I said, it's a very writing intensive major. If I can't figure out how to spell a word, I'll just ask like, hey, how do you spell this? Or what does this word mean so I don't look crazy in my papers? So it's very fast, it's very helpful. I don't have to worry about opening up another tab or having to just take that extra time, and I can just stay on one page.
I also like Cortana for that as well. I use a lot of voice assistants because I'm still kind of new to the world of text-to-speech, and I just love being able to have information just by me asking a question. It's like talking to a person.
Yeah.
So another thing I was thinking about was the most helpful skill I learned before coming to college. For me, it's also a skill I wish I developed more, and that was self-advocacy. I remember back in high school, my teachers and the other staff members who worked with me would have me constantly justify why I needed something. Because I have low vision or because I can't see this was never enough. I was able to thoroughly explain my brain condition, my eye condition, what accessible materials looked like to me, and what people could do to make accessible materials for me. And I feel like after having to constantly advocate for myself, I was prepared for literally any situation to come up in college, from having to talk about accessible housing to one time I was accidentally deregistered from all of my classes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was able to handle that situation by knowing who do I go to, what do I say, and I was able to get the matter fixed within a couple of days.
And by you kind of developing that skill, it also shows self-confidence, and it helps you show off to your professors in a way that this is what I need, and they're going to take you more seriously instead of just saying, I don't know, I might need this, I don't know. But if you say, like, this is what I need, this is what has helped me in the past, and this is why, they'll be like, oh, this is what she needs. The skill that I also wish that I had learned more was self-advocacy, but I kind of got to a point where I realized I had developed it as much as I could in high school, and then when I got to college, I could develop it even more in a different way. Other than that, I also did mobility lessons, like I said, and that definitely helped me going from a small town to a bigger city. But with the self-advocacy part, it's just something that without it, you are not going to be as successful as if you have it. And it's just one of those things where it's going to be a constant all throughout your life, even through after college. You are going to have to continue to develop it in a different way, and you'll be a better person for it as well.
I think having the mobility lessons is helpful too with encouraging students not to have to worry about isolation, or also making sure that they're able to know how to get around campus. I have friends that will only go between 3 buildings because they do not feel very confident, and I would be talking to them about how to get accessible materials from other areas on campus, and they're like, well, I don't know how to get there, so I'm not going to use that. Friends,
Yeah.
having the ability to be able to navigate across campus is so important. That's also why I helped to start the Vision Impaired Patriots student organization here at George Mason, which I'm hoping will serve as a model for other organizations at other colleges in Virginia. So I will actually be linking to our website in the final presentation document. So if you guys are curious to learn more about what we're doing to help encourage college students to receive accessible materials and other life skills, you can check out that link below. Everyone, so thank you so much for tuning in and watching us. This presentation will be available as a recording on the AIM website. If you are interested in contacting us, so my contact information is listed here. My Twitter is at VERON4ICA, and my website is veronicabeforiice.com. That's VERONIIICA.com. You can also reach me by email at veron4ica@gmail.com.
My Twitter is listed here. It's Kensley100. That's KENZLI 100.
Yep, and we're also ending this with a fun picture of us taken last night at a game from Green Machine where we were both members. It's actually how we met. So it just goes to show how awesome these social things can be for helping people with vision impairments to connect with each other. We also have the link for our document with links, which will be found at bit.eo or do/AIM4 college VI. All right, so now we are going to be taking questions from the audience. So if you guys have any questions related to transition or anything like that, please write in the chat box.
I don't see any. Okay, if you have any questions for either Mackenzie or Veronica at a later date, you're more than welcome to email AIM Virginia's help desk and ask the questions, and we'll get with the girls and find that information for you. So thank you very much for coming, and we look to see you the third week in March at our AIM for College for the disability blindness. See you later. Have a great day.
See ya!
Bye.